One of the many, many fantasies of the Brexiteers, where they, again, as they said, held all the cards, and somehow Britain would magically lift up an anchor and it would sail off into the Pacific to become this, new Pacific trading nation with, a low tax, low regulatory regime. Even Lord Frost is apparently telling us just very recently that we need to ditch European style economics completely. For what? I don't know. But like I say, remember at the referendum, no one voted for that. Even today, people still want high standards and regulations. So, make of that what you will. But one of the big fantasies, of course, the Brexiteers had was that somehow the German car industry would come sailing to the rescue of the Britain and the British government and Brexit. Of course, it didn't happen. But part of their fantasy was that they would come up to Angela Merkel and go, Angela, how can you do this to the UK? You've got to give us access to their markets. You can't, you've got to give them a sweetheart deal, or else. Again, I don't know what, say, the German car industry could actually threaten Angela Merkel with, or at the time they could have threatened her with. Like I say, that was partly why it was a complete fantasy of the Brexiteers. However, of course, Angela Merkel, again, Germany's just gone through new elections. There's now a new government in charge. The Merkel age, I suppose you could call it the Merkel age, is now, come to an end after all that time of, again, being sort of, I was going to say prime minister, but I think it's president. Is it president in Germany? Can't remember now. Chancellor, that's it. Chancellor of Germany for that long a time. She's had, she's cast quite the long shadow over German politics, but she's now gone. And of course, there is a new German government in town, and they have issued a warning to Boris to, hey, you signed that Brexit deal, so you better keep to it. So let's find out what the German government has said, or the new German government has said in this case, and let's find out how fun and games this might turn into. So, but before we do jump into that, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. So, this comes from The Independent with the title of Brexit. German government warns Boris Johnson of retaliation for the breach of the Northern Ireland deal. The new German government has fired a warning shot at Boris Johnson to expect retaliation if he breaks the deal for Northern Ireland. The warning came as Mr. Johnson restated his readiness to suspend the deal by invoking Article 16 of the Northern Ireland Protocol in a phone call with the Irish counterpart Michael Martin. In a three-way German coalition agreement, including Olaf Scholz of the Social Democrats as Angela Merkel's replacement, he now backs the countermeasures if the UK fails to abide by its obligations. If it commits Berlin to a common European policy towards the United Kingdom and to see a close bilateral cooperation within its framework. But it adds, we insist on full compliance with the agreements that are being concluded, in particular with regard to the Northern Ireland Protocol and the Good Friday Agreement. In the event of non-compliance with the agreed standards and procedures, we are committed to the constant application of all agreed measures and countermeasures. The strong stance comes, of course, after the UK backed away from an early suspension of Article 16 of the protocol, apparently because of a weakened Johnson, and it is not ready for the damaging trade war with the EU. Brussels has hailed the welcome change in tone in ongoing talks, as both sides have agreed to focus on medicines and customs red tape, not just the flashpoint issues of the role of the European Court of Justice. However, the Brexit Minister David Frost has insisted that the triggering of Article 16 remains on the table if talks run into the sand, rejecting an EU compromise to reduce the Irish Sea border checks. In a further cross-channel tensions, the French Foreign Minister launched a fierce attack on Mr. Johnson amid the separate clash over the post-Brexit fishing rights, which could come into play this weekend as well. The Prime Minister is a populist who uses all elements at his disposal to blame others for the problems he faces internally, John Yelvis Delran said. The comments came as Lord Frost addressed the 1922 committee of Tory backbenchers, repeating his threat to trigger Article 16 if necessary, but said he was, quote, hopeful it would prove not necessary. Berlin's coalition government, the first ever reached between three parties, brings together the Social Democrats, the Greens, and the right-wing Free Democrats. It pledged to make the climate emergency its top priority by phasing out coal power by 2030 and expanding renewable sources to cover at least 80% of all energy needs by the decade's end. Mr. Scholz appealed to Germans to get vaccinated, announcing a 7-point plan to tackle the very serious COVID situation, hinting at the introduction of vaccine passports. And Amsterdam may soon have a rival as a European capital of cannabis, with plans to even legalize recreational use of the drugs and sales from licensed shops. This will control the quality and quantity and prevent the circulation of contaminated substances and ensure the protection of minors, the coalition contract states. In a call with Mr. Martin, the Prime Minister today said that he would be left no choice but to activate Article 16 if talks between Lord Frost and the European Commissioner Vice President Marco Solvek failed to deliver a rebalanced and sustainable outcome soon. A Downing Street spokesperson said the Prime Minister raised his ongoing concern about the substantial distance between the UK and the EU positions when it comes to trying resolving the issues of the Northern Ireland Protocol. Of course, again, this is all trying to sort of deflect things away because, well, the economic issues that we are seeing in, shall we say, the rest of the UK compared to Northern Ireland aren't happening in Northern Ireland. I wonder why. Downing Street spokesman said the Prime Minister raised his ongoing concern with the substantial. The protocol was, quote, rightly keeping North and South trade open, but is damaging on the much larger East-West dimension. We could not allow a situation to develop in which the government wasn't able to provide economic support to Northern Ireland in the same way it could for the rest of the UK. Ultimately, Northern Ireland's place in the UK internal market was crucial in its long-term prosperity and could not be damaged. The implementation of the protocol was now coinciding with economic and political realities, not economic, certainly not, when you look at the numbers. And of course, the significant change was necessary. The Court of Justice, the CCIG of the EU, was part of the fundamental imbalance that because disputes were decided by the one court of one party. That is how it was decided. That was how it was decided. Then your fantastic deal that Johnson and the rest of the Brexiteers said was apparently a fantastic deal. Again, this time last year, of course, there was no deal. It didn't exist at this moment in time last year. We were still like, what on earth is going to happen? But of course, we're coming up to sort of the anniversary of that deal. And again, apparently it was meant to be oven ready to go. Of course, it wasn't. It has literally been, hacked together in the most barest bones as possible with tons of problems still to go. Then, of course, we've got to see what happens next year. Of course, you may remember from the very botched Norway debacle earlier this year that the UK said it wasn't interested in talking with the EU until next year. Of course, we're going to have to see what that actually turns out to be. But of course, as always, we'll keep an eye on that and how this situation unfolds. Like I say, definitely going to be fun and games this weekend with the French fishermen. That could cause some serious problems at the ports this weekend, almost definitely. But again, we'll have to see how serious those knock-on consequences are. But of course, thank you all for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a donation link called Buy Me Coffee. Buy Me Coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.